Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing excellently well. Today is a very special day for me and I get to smile, which is great. And I suppose that's all I want to say. So let's go and have a look at my baby. So I got my baby back, which is, ta-da, known as Aunty Silvia. So every inanimate object I get, however mundane, I have to turn it into a human personality. And so this is Aunty Silvia. So I have to tell you the story behind Aunty Silvia. I would go outside where we could get better optics, but it's really windy and it will sound terrible, so I won't. Right, where do we start? So Aunty Silvia has been stocked, and this is no relation to Aunty Static, by the way, has been in storage around a friend's farm for the last 4 years, and this is pretty much the first time I've got to get it back. I've got it back now today. It's just arrived on a low loader, and I've got to put it in my garage, which is great. And we've got a whole series of jobs that we need to do to get her back on the road, obviously. She's a bit under the weather at the moment. So where are we? 2020 now. 2004, when she was 10 years old, 1994 car. By the way, this is a 1994 Sil80. It was a 1994. It was born as a 1994 180SX Nissan. I converted it into a Sil80 when I had a rather nasty incident, and I destroyed the front end of the car, and I replaced the front end from a PS13, a different type of car, and it's now called a Sil80, which is a mixture between a Silvia and a Nissan 180X. So the front is Silvia. That's the Silvia front end, which is a different thing to a 180SX, and everything past kind of the rear front wheel, no, everything past about there backwards is a 180SX, very special car. So I started in 2004. My younger brother imported this into the country from Japan, where it was made and only sold in Japan, and he used it for 5 to 6 years and modified it, and it was in a magazine. I'll try and get that before the end of this video to show you the magazine. And he then sold it in about 2010. It was then gone for 2 years, at which point it went through 2 owners in 2 years, at which point I tracked it down. I saw it on a, not an advert per se, but on a forum, on the SXOC forum, and tracked it down, and I went and got it back because I wanted it back in the family. It's been back in the family ever since. I've had it since then, since about 2012, I'd guess. It's now 2012. I've had it for about 8 years, I guess. Had it for 4 years, crashed it, then modified it. As we can see here, just about everything that's done here is done by myself, more or less. And then for the last 4 years, it's been in storage. I haven't been able to get to it because I've had 3 years or so living at Alison's house, Alison's mother's house, where I couldn't get to it, and another year before then of illness, where I couldn't really drive or do anything. So I finally got it back now, and I'm well enough that I can do work on it and try and get it back on the road. It's currently not road legal, and we'll talk about what jobs need doing it, and we'll go through that as we go. So it is a Sil80. Yes, it is a Sil80. It's a kind of fabricated by myself, and we'll go through the specification. There's almost nothing from this car that is standard, that came with the standard car, apart from the monocoque and the glass, and even some of the glass is not standard. So maybe we'll do outside first. So let's go back and have a look. So the front bumper is fiberglass Vertex kit for PS13. Front lights are for an original PS13. Note they are the projector. No, let me get this right. They are the round projector rather than the brick lights. I prefer projectors. Let me know whether you prefer bricks. I think the older ones are bricks, the newer ones are projectors. Glass. Side lights are aftermarket. Fenders are plus 20mm PS13 fiberglass there as well, plus 20mm. Bonnet is only, well, it's meant to be a temporary edition. It's been on there 8 years now, but it's meant to be a temporary PS13 original bonnet, and it's had the vent louver added, the cooling, and it's in crap shape. I just painted it quickly with a spray can. It's all damaged around here. You can see it all dented around here. Again, it's only meant to be temporary. Wheels are rotor. They are the Works Emotion copies. They're rotor cheap copies. Must have cost about £1,000, something like that, with tyres. 18-inch plus. I can't remember the offset now, so I'm not even going to pretend to say. They're 9J. 18-inch, with probably Falcon tyres. I can't remember, they're so old, they need seriously refurbing. Body kit, side skirts, Vertex fiberglass, plus 50mm rear over fenders for the quarters. They are fiberglass. Basically everything here is fiberglass now, been replaced from metal to fiberglass. Came from a company somewhere in England up the north, I can't remember. Always had problems, need some help. I fitted it myself rather than paying a mechanic to do it, because simply, well, money's always been tight for me in one form or another. And I had to end up bolting it on. Can you see these bolts, which are not the desired effect, but I don't know how to get rid of them, because I couldn't get the glue to stick down, the body glue. So that's a problem we need to look at. Bolted it down to the bottom as well. We've got rear Vertex fiberglass bumper that's been smashed up several times and repaired by me, same as the front bumper, and we've got to do another repair on it soon. Rear lights, 180 kooky lights imported from Japan for a high expense by my brother. This fascia imported from Japan for high expense, genuine RSP 13. Dudar, what's it? The rear hatch is where my modifications, in fact everything was here. No, the body kit was my brother's. Fenders, front fenders and rear fenders are mine. This is all mine. The rear hatch is very heavy on these cars, made of metal and glass. So I replaced it with, this is fiberglass, this is Perspex. Needs some work on it, the Perspex, in fact we'll go over the work later on. So it's super lightweight, you can basically open it with one finger now. The whole weight on the car is 1,050 kilos. I got it weighed at a bridge in just down the road from here, so it's a very lightweight vehicle, almost too lightweight to the point where it's actually incredibly dangerous to drive now. Don't tell us that. Doors are standard, thinking of modifying them soon. Wing mirror standard, roof crumpled but standard, glass standard, everything else is pretty much standard. So why don't we go into the rear. So the rear interior has all been removed, painted, could do with another going over. The idea, if they're thinking of that, is I cut about 150 kilos off from removing various things from this car, which is high up mass, and it's had a very big performance. It's significantly faster than it was in standard trim, this vehicle. This is just work in progress, don't worry about that, but the battery is located at the back now. It will be once we get that finished. That wiring harness, there's a lot of surprising amount of kilos of wiring in vehicles, even in 94 vehicles. So the wiring harness has all been stripped back and removed, and all we've got left is essentially one wire from the battery and literally 3 or 4 tiny wires from hundreds. So I removed buckets and buckets of wiring from this car. It's just something that I could do. That's that down there. Let's go and have a look elsewhere. Ping. So in here, the original dash is standard. Could do a bit of work, but it's okay. I've got pods up here for the boost of the turbo. You probably can't see them at the moment. We've got oil pressure there, which is actually really useful things for an old car, which is liable to have leaks. Just a generic racing steering wheel I put on, remove the horn and various other stuff. Original disc gauges, the clusters, all original but need work. A lot of it's not working. You know, 25-year-old car that's been driven. You know, this is not a you know, this is not a, I don't want to say well looked after. It's a well looked after car, but it's been used. You know, it's been used significantly. It's got 85,000 miles on it, about 140,000 kilometers. All the scraps removed, de-wired, just got the climate control, which still works amazingly. That's that. As you can see, this comes from a drift type vehicle. This is a drift car at the end of the day. It's not used for drifting, it's not used for anything, but that is what it is. It's a drift handbrake modification. These seats, I've had various seats in here over the time. Comfort is always a problem for me because my body is in pretty shit shape. And these are the latest ones I fitted. I had to weld them in myself. They are, I got them from a Civic Type R. You can see like that. Now they don't look amazingly good or particularly sporty, but they are very comfy. They're from a mainstream car, they're not from a modified. I do have a set of Corbeau bucket seats, kind of pro bucket seats in the spare room, but my ass just isn't quite good enough at the moment. Sparco belts, pretty good. That's there. One problem with welding your own seats in is that they don't move, so they're set for me. No one else can really drive the car unless they're 6'2" like me. That's it. Everything's stripped down up here, minimalistic. It's good for if the car ever gets used for motorsport. You don't want anything that burns in here, especially even choosing the right kind of paint that doesn't burn. Most of you, I suppose, won't know about this. I used to dismantle cars, and I used to, well, I shouldn't say, but it was possible that some of the stuff was burnt after it was dismantled, and the amount of stuff that burns horrendously, dangerously quickly in cars, you don't want to know. It's very horrible. And so from learning from that experience, the first thing you can do, if you might use the car for motorsport, is get rid of the burny shit, because it's a nasty way to go. Otherwise, pretty much standard there. Let's talk about underneath. A lot of the work that's got to be done is underneath. I've got a nurse spec R exhaust modified, because I did crash the car at one point. And it's modified with a 5-inch tip on the end from another exhaust that I found. I don't know how well the light's going to work under here. Underside, it's okay condition. It's a 25-year-old car, you know, so I've seen better, I've seen worse. Standard diff needs replacing. Suspension is Apex adjustable arms all over, apart from the lower control arms. Probably won't be able to get a shot from that because the it's all pretty tight in here, as you can see. No, I'm not going to be able to really show you. So we've got adjustable arms all over, apart from the lower controls, which, to be honest, unless you're a really big modifier, you best just keep it standard and just, you know, clean them up and service them. So that's how I go. Rear brakes are from a Nissan 200 SX S14A. They're good for drifting because the handbrake is in the caliper rather than internal drum on the discs here. So they're drifting brakes basically. They're okay. I'll have to rebuild them soon because they're getting pretty old. And NAF, locking coils on the rear subframe. It's just a happy, easy modification. I used to have another car like this. I'll try and find some pictures of it. It was like this, but much more extreme. This is the car when I learned how bad going extreme is. So I had an S14 200 SX that went up way above 400 horsepower. It was stripped down like this, but even more extreme. I was cutting panels out of it and stuff like that. Suspension was rock fucking bottom. Bushes removed, you know, it's rose jointed, seriously hardcore piece of equipment that car was. And I went on just before I got sick, I went on a holidays, I suppose sort of the right word, 2,000 mile Gumball, that's it, Gumball. It's very expensive but also very good, and we went with my £2,000, $3,000 Nissan. I've probably still got the picture somewhere with, you know, supercars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, £250,000 stuff, and it was just as fast as them. It was amazingly good vehicle. What it lacked was comfort. It was horrendously uncomfortable to the point where me and the co-pilot became properly sick from it, because it was just you can't do 2,000 miles in it. No one could do that. It was horrendous. So I learned that error, and this is what had come out of learning that error. It's not as fast, but it's much more comfortable. It's much more squishy. The suspension is not OEM, but it's, you know, it's a nice compromise. The shocks are coilovers, Apex Generation 2 coilovers, which are, you know, they're okay. They're coilovers and they're lowered by 80mm or whatever, but you know, you can live with them. You can get over speed bumps. The seats, nice and comfy. Seats are really important in a car, comfy. Yes, it's stripped down, but look, it's got the original dash and stuff. My car didn't even have a dash and stuff like that, you know, it was properly stripped down. It's got a heater in it. My original car didn't have a heater in it. I've stripped everything out of it to make it as light as possible. So these things make a car so much easier to live with. And this, you could drive it as a daily if you really wanted. I did for about a year when my Clio went off the road because the engine, the intake valve smashed up. I drove this around for a year, which I wish I didn't, because then that's when it took most of its abuse in that year, not from driving but from all the stuff I was carrying in it. I really damaged a lot of the inside, the interior, the perspex, you know, so never mind, everything can be repaired. Entropy can be reversed with enough human effort. Front suspension, standard subframe, standard fittings, standard, no, they're not standard. No, they're not standard. I said the lower control arms are standard. They're not. The lower control arms, although they're not aftermarket, are from an S14, which is 20mm, 50mm wider there, 25mm wider there, something like that. It's been a long time since I looked at this. S14 front control arms here. All the other arms are adjustable apex. We may, see what I mean in here. You see that arm there. You see a little bit of blue on it. You see that is it's aftermarket adjustable stuff. It means you can set your camber, you can set your toe, you can set your offset, you can set everything here to mean you get just the right. Now that's a very non-aggressive offset, you'd agree. Again, I've learned. I've had a car with aggressive offset and aggressive camber, inverse camber, but now I've just gone for 1.5 degrees here and just a little bit of offset, as you can see. It's not aggressive. And at the rear there, almost zero camber to get all of the cord of the tyre on the ground, because comfort, to be honest, just comfort. This is all my stuff. I built all of this, painted all of this, but it needs redoing. As you can see, it's pretty shit. That's that. Standard prop shaft. The prop shaft has chewed itself to bits when I put the wrong fucking differential on the car because I'm a dick. We've got to look at that. The gearbox is chewed up. We need to go and repair that. Needs doing. We'll work on that. Drive shaft original. I don't know what we'll do on the diff yet. I'm open to sensible operations within budget. And when I say within budget, I mean basically nothing. So stuff that we can get for free. This guy here is from a louvered from something, it's aftermarket. Here we go. Here's the heart of the operation. Just stand by while I try and find whatever I used to use for the prop. I must use that, I guess. Where would that have gone? Up here, maybe? Long time since I've even looked in this engine bay, and you can tell by how dirty it is. This used to be a loved engine bay, chrome bling, you know, the kind of thing I'm sure you can imagine from magazines, but it's been sitting in a warehouse for 4 years. What we've got here is one of my favourite engines of all time. So I've worked on lots of engines. I ran Emperor tuning for 5 years, and I've had big 4-5 litre engines come in and stuff. This is a big favourite of mine. It's called an SR20 DET. It's a tiny little 2 litre engine, 122 cubic centimetres, but it's a renowned engine. If you're a tuner, you do drag racing and stuff like that, it'll be a renowned engine, along with the similar to engines like in the Evo, Mitsubishi Evo, stuff like that. It's a very heavily built engine, not actually built for power, strangely enough, built for quiet. Nissan built this engine for quiet. It's aluminium, all aluminium block head and skirt, but it was built very thick, made it a bit expensive, and it made it quiet, but also it made it very good at handling high pressures, and therefore you can tune this engine up to very high horsepower with reliability without even modifying it. Sounds crazy, or modifying the tool block. So this is very low modification because this car just can't handle a lot of power. It's too light, too skitty as it is, and I don't want another powerful car. So at 302 horsepower, just at the fly here, probably about 260 or something at the wheels. That's just right for me. I'm not a very good driver, like I'm not a very good pilot. However, this engine will happily renowned for doing 450 horsepower at the fly without modification. If you want to go higher than that and have some endurance, then you're going to go in and you're going to change your pistons and your internals. But that's why it's so renowned. Now, this car and the engine was very cheap when I got it. Very popular in England, this engine, in other types of vehicles. You could pick up that engine for £200. Pick up the car for £3 grand. I bought the car for £4 grand. Now the world's changed. It's 10 years later. The car's worth probably 8-10 grand, maybe I shouldn't say that, but the engine will cost thousands now to buy a decent SR20 like this. So it just shows how much things change. Where do we start? So I guess we follow the air in. So we've got an intake which is actually under the car. I've played with several different intakes. I used to be a engine tuner myself. All of this is tuned myself, mapped myself on the piggyback ECUs, which I've got to get into again. So your intake's actually under the car. It comes up through here, goes through that. That's a modified Z32300 ZX AFM. So it measures your air. Then that sucks through that tube there, and that. It all looks probably quite professional but dirty. It's not. That is a piece of drain pipe, plastic drain pipe from my mum's house that I took off. I covered it in silicone to make it look sexy, but that's all it is. Everything you're looking at has been done on a budget, but done well, if that kind of makes sense. So, like I said, I haven't had money to buy fancy stuff, but it's done well because I've learned. I went on training course, put myself on training courses and stuff, how to do all this stuff. Turbo is non-standard turbo. It's from a Skyline Nissan Skyline R34 GTR. It's not a big turbo, it's a HKS 2530 in standard trim, so it'll go up to about 330 horsepower at a pinch, no higher, which is not big for a turbo, you know, and I run it just over 300 horsepower. It's a good little turbo, it's a good runner, bearing's pretty good, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to go for a sensible build like this. I'd say it's probably the best turbo in the world for this. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. Again, this is not a power build, this is a response build, and you're on boost well by 3000 RPM, so that's a big thing with an SR. So you through the turbo, then you're redirecting along the hot pipe. It's just a cheap chrome hot pipe, and I've shielded it because of the name. This is obviously a charge air. It's very hot, goes down into an intercooler. Where's that? There it is down there, which I've had some problems with, but should be fixed now. That is an air-to-air intercooler. I did have a really posh £900 one. This car came with some heavy modifications from Japan when it was imported, and when I say heavy, I mean expensive. £900 intercooler, really, you know, £500 radiator, but they broke. They just got old, you know, stuff gets old and breaks, and so I've replaced it with cheaper stuff, but relatively decent stuff. Because obviously, you know, who can afford £900 for a radiator? It comes back in, you're down the cold inlet pipe, so you charge. Cool charge is now coming in here through a standard throttle body. Never needed more than 80mm throttle body, into a standard plenum, of which this note is an SR20 red top. I know I've painted it purple because Emperor Tuning was its colour. This is what we call a standard red top straight cam, so this is no VVT on it, and this is my favourite version of this engine. SR20 went for 10-12 years, maybe longer. It had various versions, VVT, non-VVT, different plenum designs. This is the earliest original design. Is it the most efficient? No. Does it give the most torque? No. Is it the coolest? Yes. It's called important. Supercat thinks so. Look how cool and industrial that shit looks. That is just literally how it came out of the factory, pretty much. So standard plenum goes to a non-fucked with inlet manifold, which is great. Injectors here are uprated from 370cc per minute to 550cc per minute. Named injectors from Japan. Very expensive, but just has to be done. If you're going to up the power, you've got to uprate your injectors, and this vehicle comes with dog shit headroom injectors. The tool blocks are modified, never been opened as far as I'm aware, and that's a good thing. I always say, having done this myself and been there and done that, just leave the fucking tool block alone. Don't touch it unless you are, you know, a proper tuner. Just leave it, and you'll have fun then, and your car will be good rather than shit. So that's learned from standard exit manifold. I've had tubulars and stuff on there. You know what? Just keep a standard exit manifold if you're not going for power. The response bite is very, to be honest, hardly any difference. You know, you never really notice it. It's perfectly fine. Comes with the turbo there. Got a few problems, but nothing major. We're going to a really good thing if you're ever thinking of getting into this type of car, which you're probably not. But just so you know, you've got a aftermarket 3-inch downpipe elbow, and that goes into a twin can downpipe, as you call it on this. Very rare, very rare. It's the only one I've ever seen, and I'll try and get a picture of it. So it goes twin can down there. You see it splits into two, and that's not just to look pretty, it's so the pipe doesn't have to go so deep. And that's the problem on this car. You whack that thing on speed bumps and it will smash your turbo to pieces. Causes 90% of the problems with these cars probably. That, and then I'll do a decat and then to nurse spec. Now boost control is important in any car obviously, and I am I don't know what the word is really. I like simple, right? You know, I've had electronic boost controllers in there costing hundreds of pounds, and I've gone back to this that costs £5, just a bleed off valve. You know what? It fucking works. I've tuned it to 1.2 bar of PSI with this turbo, and that's it. It's not going to break down. It's not going to have any problems. Just keep it simple and cheap, basically. So that's that. I've sold a lot of valuable stuff off this car to just downgrade it back to standard. Sold that for 200 quid, downgraded it. Sold boost controller for 200 quid, downgraded it. Sold cowling, downgraded it. Sold FMIC, downgraded it. It's an Apex 2 radiator, downgraded from the original Japanese one. This one's probably better, to be honest, in terms of efficiency anyway, and it's cheaper, and it allows me to do stuff, you know, without a vast amount of money. Various brackets from PS13. that is, ECU is just piggyback NIS tune. I'd like to do my own NIS tune tuning, but to get back into that, which would be cool. Brakes, we've got non-ABS, so it's straight to brake, which I prefer. I'm not an ABS fan, however, obviously very dangerous in the wet. This whole car is, in fact, you just wouldn't drive it in the wet, to be honest, unless you've got a bit of a death wish. Straight to brake, all original pipes, nothing to say really. Oh, the front brake calipers and discs are from a Z32 300ZX. This is a big 1.5 ton car. They're small by today's standard. You know, today's cars are very much heavier than these cars. It's an alloy, all alloy 4-pot, which it's a good brake. It's a good brake. You know, if you're going to want to do motorsports with it, you may want to upgrade, but I'll probably never get to do motorsports with it. Realistic standard ARBs. Down there, I don't know if you can see, we've got a flat Baffled Sump. I just came up, I had an opportunity to install it, and so I installed it. So it obviously, there you go, you can see down there, alloy. Obviously it's good for G-forces if you're going to go drifting or whatnot. Like I said, I'll probably never do that. The best thing is it doesn't stick as low as an OE sump, so there's no chance of battering it on something. And like I said, realistic chance, the biggest chance you've got of killing your car, apart from crashing it with a lowered car like this, is battering it on fucking bricks in the road and speed bumps and stuff. So that's a great investment, and I've had no problems with it. That's pretty much it. So that's that. Things we've got to do, problems we've got to do, what I call typical old car stuff. Let's have a look here. Brakes, and you start to get rust on your lines. I don't think it's going to be long before we've got to reline everything, which is a shit job, but it just needs doing. That, I can't even remember what it's called. It's been servoed. Brake servo's got rusted. We need to replace that. I've got a spare. I used to brake these cars for a living for about a year, and so I've got a bucket full of spares. We can change everything here for much better parts. I need a new bonnet, obviously. I need a proper bonnet. These fenders aren't quite fitted how I'd like them, and they've got some cracks in them. Got to go and refiberglass, probably refit. Front bumper's got cracks. Whether you can see or not, I don't know. We'll go through it properly another time. It's cracked all over. Needs redoing, refiberglassing. Lights are fine. I was thinking of taking the engine out and redoing the. What we've got here is, this is very normal for a Japanese car of the era. This is all rust. It's got under here because they use top plates for these arches, and it's just inevitable. Water comes down here, gets in and rusts it, and that's a bit for the car you do not want rusting. It's very dangerous. So I've got to look at that, which I'm not looking forward to. Tidying up this whole engine bay needs a lot of tidying up and needs work, to be honest. Good thing is electrics are pretty solid. I've done some fair amount of work with the electrics in this car, and that's relatively solid. Engine, to be honest, is just good. I wouldn't actually want to change anything. When I retune it, obviously it's probably slipped out of tuning 4 years. Tighten everything up, check, boost check, blah blah blah. But otherwise the engine, I think we don't have to worry about, we don't have to spend any money on, which is good because it's just how it is. Brakes, tidy up, but otherwise fine. Maybe a real wheel on the rear, but to be honest it rolls fine, and I don't think it's got any problems. Inside, I've got some corbos that I may go in here, maybe I'll show you them later, up to your vice whether you think I should fit them or not. I've not decided yet. I mean, these have got to be unwelded and everything's got to come out again. It's a pain in the arse, to be honest, but we'll see. Gearbox. Gearbox works, synchros are fine, cogs are fine, but springs, the side-to-side springs, I think have been purposefully loosened by the old owner. That's all floppy and wobbly, shouldn't be like that. The rear of the gearbox needs coming apart, and we've got to change those springs. Handbrake, to be honest, is fine, all are fine. Electrics in here are fine. Bodywork is the main stuff we've got to do. Where do we start? Perspex, it's scratched from use. I used to keep a lot of stuff in here. It needs unscratching because these are hard to get hold of now. Roof is dented to shit. If you can see that big dent in the middle, that's from the crash. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. It's there basically, about the size of a kind of melon. A dent in, I've got another dent around here somewhere I need to sort in. Rusted at the top here. I mean, the car's been used, like I said, it's an enthusiast car. All of this I've stripped off recently. It is bare metal now, and taken the seals out around here. The reason is it got rusty because my brother is a complete twat. When he had the car, he forgot to do those locks. Had a different bonnet at the time, but he forgot to do those locks up. Drove it at the motorway at top speed. The bonnet flipped up, smashed here, and wrote all the kind of front of this off. Took it to a body shop who did a repair, shit repair basically, and it's gone rusty. So I've got to redo all that, which is going to be a pain in the fucking arse. All this just needs resorting, otherwise the windows are good. Fenders, rear fenders, not happy with them. The position is actually okay, better than, looking at it now, it's better than I thought. It needs tidying up. You know, this is basically raw kind of rubber shit that I put on there, you know, to make it stick. I've had all sorts of problems making it stick. It needs cleaning up and it's filling. And to be honest, I need your advice because I haven't got a clue how to do it. All this needs cleaning up. We need a way of removing or hiding the bolts. Probably can't take them out now because my ability to glue this shit on is just not good enough. So I was thinking covering them up with 2mm of filler all the way over, yeah? See what I mean? Like that. However, it's beyond my skill bracket and I'm going to need some help with that. Cleaning up, all the shit needs cleaning up. This is all the rubber filler that I've used down here at the edges, all needs clearing up around here. Rear bumper needs coming off. We've got some repairs, we've got a couple of cracks that I won't be able to show you because of the light. We've got some scratches in here that need doing. This needs repainting. I'll do that probably in the next few days. Same thing over the other side here. Which we're doing down here. Cracked during the crash, I cracked some of the skirts, then you're taking off and redoing. Got a few minor dents in the doors. I'd like to get them sorted. Good thing is because the panels are off, it's easy to get to, so we can de-dent them. Going to need some help with that. These probably just need refitting and crack there. Usually what goes in there, that's not right, that needs redoing. I'd like to get it up to a nice spec if possible. Bonnet, I'm just buying a new bonnet, so I'm not going to worry about that. That needs doing. Welding needs doing. I may or may not be able to show you. It's failed its first MOT. Unfortunately, it's just got to that age where, you know, it's not been cherished. It's, you know, it's not been a cherished car. It's left outside, and you probably can't see it. There are holes that go right through to the ground because it's rusted through. Simple as that. I've seen worse. I've seen better, but it needs re-welding, patching down there in about several places, and we need to go through and do that. Probably beyond my skill limit, but we'll probably learn together as we go. So the welding needs doing, bodywork needs doing, engine needs cleaning up, tidying, retuning, and doing. Small problem with the tuners, I forgot to do the idle, so it stalls on idle, so we need to, it's just something I never got around to doing. We've got to do that. Maybe seats. What else have we got? Paint. Oh, you're probably thinking it looks like a piece of shit. Yeah, paint. Problem with paint is it costs money. Obviously, I can't paint a car myself properly. This is all everything you've seen on this car is my paint, but it's shit. You know, look, you see that shit? You know, it's all spray brush stuff from a eBay shop. It's not proper paint, and it's not cured and whatnot. It will need painting or wrapping at some point, so I may just have to save, maybe prep it. Maybe we'll prep it here, save up the money and get it wrapped professionally. I don't know. I'm open to your ideas. The problem is if you want to get a proper paint job, it's £2,000–3,000. You know, it's never going to happen realistically. That's that. A few odds and sods. Need to repair the bezel in the cockpit. We'll take that apart and just be some basic electrics and still be some. With these old cars, 25-year-old cars, water, when they've been left outside for 25 years, water gets in the electrics. It goes funny and the electrics stop working, so we need to just take that apart. That'll be fine. Underneath, I've talked about that. Suspension is okay at the moment. There's nothing really wrong with the suspension. However, at some point we will be refurbing. It does need a new diff. The reason is it came with a welded diff, which is a bitch, so I got rid of that. I put a diff from an old car, however it's big, high mileage diff. Just, you know, it's a 50 quid diff at the end of the day. It needs either reusing the shell and changing the internals, repairing, I don't know, haven't decided, need help with that. Prop really needs coming off and rebalancing, and it needs a new bracket for the mid-mount because the whole prop is actually fitted an inch further forward because I put the wrong frigging diff in, and that's just going to chewed up the rear of the gearbox. We need to look at that. Mechanically it's just about working okay at the moment, but you know, for longevity we've got to fix that professionally. Again, on cheap somehow, so it's going to be interesting. I guess that's all I've got to say now for Aunty Silvia. I'll try and find that magazine and show you, put in a video when it was famous. Let me know your thoughts, things that you would like to see, ideas, ways to do stuff. I'm literally going to start now. I've just finished my videos early today. I'm going to jack it up now and try and start cleaning up for the welding, and I'll show these in videos, probably on a different YouTube channel so I don't annoy everyone. They're in the lounge now, and I've got a few copies of this. This is Banzai magazine from, wait for it, November 2000 and 2008, so that's before my brother, just before my brother sold the car. And we can go to English magazine, by the way. Bye-bye. That there is my car, and this is before it was crashed, before it was turned into a Sil80. So this is when it was a 180. He's still got the CC, still got the same wheels, but it's now got the pop-up headlights and the non-Silvia front end. And you see it there. That's what the engine used to look like. Still, you know, a fair amount of components are the same. Basic engine's the same. Same brakes. Different. These were different over fenders. These all had to go. These all went. I had to do some rebuilding work around both these arches, quite a lot actually, to change it and change everything. There you go. Still got more or less the same rear end. Got a big old whale tail spoiler on it. Bride seats. Unfortunately, I just can't handle bride seats anymore. Interior. A car with interior in. Crazy, I know. He had a big SXOC thread following everything, and I've kind of taken over that there. That's in there, looking rather young. And that's it. And that's the end of the story. I shall update you when we do more.